Hey guys, 120 Prado for a service at around 260k. We're just going to have a quick look around under the bonnet and see if there's any issues, any leaks or deterioration type things. But before we do, I just want to say a big thanks to everybody, all the supporters that have been watching and subscribed and give us the thumbs up and the comments, the questions, and all the support saying thank you, so we know we're doing the right thing. As promised, we're going to do more videos and better videos. The channel is growing, so that's really awesome, because as you probably know, it's certainly not about making money. If it was about making money, we just keep the time in the workshop working on the vehicles rather than doing this right now. So it is a little bit costly, and if you want to help more, please remember to give us a thumbs up and subscribe, turn the bell on, and share the information, guys. Please, if you see a good video, share it off to one of your favorite Facebook groups or online forums or whatever the case be, or someone you know to help with their problem. So let's have a look around and see what we can see. Okay. These vehicles had the injectors replaced, so we're not going to see any oil leaks as such. But that being said, sometimes people do overflow oil and cause what may look a bit like an oil leak. I think might be what's happening here. So here's a really good tip actually. So if you see this, don't automatically think it's a valve cover gasket, because these valve cover gaskets don't leak. Now we're going to go through the possibilities, right? My videos, they're not planned. We just go boom, we hit the go button, and then we go through it, we see what we see, and we explain it as we see it. So when I say the injector's been done, I look down the back here, right? I just try and squeeze in there a little bit. It's going to be quite difficult, but I just want to sort of go. See the back corner where the valve cover meets the head, right? It's all clean and dry, right? There's no issue there. But then if we look down here, I don't know if you can see, it's going to be, see the oil, there's oil between the valve cover and the head, and I go, oh no, what's it got, an oil leak? Okay, all I'm going to say now is I didn't replace the injectors on this vehicle, and I'm not saying there's a problem with that, but if your injectors have been replaced, there could be an issue like the top seals around the injector solenoids can, if everything's not clean, like your Mickey Mouse clean, and I can't show you those at the moment, it's all in other videos, it's underneath the intercooler here, that can cause some sweats and whatever, but you don't normally see the amount of oil that you see that's here. It's not a massive amount. What this looks like is, when the oil's been filled up, it's overflowed and came down onto the valve cover, but it's hard to tell at this stage because, again, I haven't changed the oil on it, right? It's just something that needs a bit of investigation to see, okay, the oil has been, because there's a cover, you've got the intercooler cover, and then you've got a cover over the cover, right? So I'm just showing you from underneath. You can see the cap, you can see the cover, and you can see the bit of oil there. Now, something that can happen is valve covers can be cracked. That's why they need to be cleaned, checked, and inspected if you're fixing any oil leaks or any injector replacement. And when you see this, don't jump in and go and rip your valve cover off and cause contamination by removing your injector pipes. It's not hard to do, guys, when you put oil in here, to accidentally overflow it and put a bit of oil there. So the main thing is it needs to be cleaned up and it needs to be inspected so that we can get to the bottom of if there's a leak or not. And there's probably not a leak. It's probably that little mistake of overflowing a bit of oil, I think. Now the other things that can be, as I said, if there's some dirt underneath the solenoids around the injectors, that can hold the seals up a little bit and just allow a sweat, but doesn't normally let that much oil come down to there, so I don't think it's that. You can look around the front here, it's all clean and dry, no issue there. Right, so I think we're about done there with the oil situation. Now, the other situation I'm looking at here is quite a lot of staining on the inside of the valve cover. Now, we've seen in other videos, which is why it's important to watch the other videos, the telltale sign on these engines of the water pump that leaks, and I want to be clear, there's nothing wrong with these engines or these water pumps. It happens on all vehicles. Water pumps pretty well all leak eventually. Basically, the telltale sign is you'll see a little, depending on how clean the coolant is, and this one, it's nice and red, it looks pretty good, see that? But one telltale sign is, see, it's a little bit low. See, it's down to the low line, right? When it's cold, I like to see these closer to the full on, but they can be as low as the low because they expand as they warm up, right? So full hot on the full on when it's warm is the go. But early days, you'll just see a little, you'll see like a pink or white line up here somewhere because it's flicking off that pulley there. See that pulley, right? That one there, it flicks off the back of that if the water pump's leaking. And I've demonstrated in other videos how to check and see. You can get a mirror and look down there. But there's not a lot of need to, especially here, without going too deep. I'm looking at that. Now, a couple of things. That could be mud. Someone's been in the mud, and the mud and water and whatever the case may be has flicked off the pulley. And that means mud, dry belts and whatever, and mud in the belts, and mud and water in the pulleys and whatever. So not ideal, and that's why we changed the bearings and belt and everything as part of the big front engine job. That does look like mud. So if the water pump was leaking a little bit, you wouldn't be able to tell. Possibly this isn't leaking. It's, as I said, mainly mud, but looking at the coolant down a bit. So what we would do is top this up to the full when cold, just so we know we've got the maximum amount of coolant there. It's going to go up a little bit as it warms up. When it cools down, back to the full line. Let the client know to keep an eye on the coolant level. Give that a good clean up there, whether it's some degreaser and a bit of scrub with a brush to get rid of that mud staining, so that we can see it's clean and black, and if there's any coolant leaking, it'll spray off there and we can see the coolant, right? So cleaning is the key there, okay? Now I'm not climbing up on the vehicle, I'm just having a look around general. We're going to do a 10-minute inspection under the bonnet, 10 minutes including all my chit chat. So I'm just looking around for anything, the most obvious things. Make sure your batteries are all secure, your terminals are tight. Check obviously the levels in there. Only ever add water, don't add acid. And if you need to add, it's important that you, if you can, you add to all of those separate compartments evenly, right? Try and keep it even if you can. If one's going down more than the other, you may be already on towards an issue. Let's have a look down this side. What do we got? It looks pretty clean down this way. Good, it's got the long suction control valve. You can see down there in the middle of the picture, that one there, that's the suction control valve. For those that missed it, the short ones are rubbish. If you haven't seen my video, it's probably just search on my channel the word rubbish and hopefully you'll find it. If you don't, try SCV, which is abbreviation for suction control valve. The short ones are rubbish, okay? We've got another one at the moment we suspect someone's replaced. It's interstate. They're having problems with surging and fuel fluctuations at the same time. They've just put a new suction control valve, but of course they didn't get it from me. So I don't know if it's really genuine or not, or a copy. They've put the short one in. The short ones are cheaper. We've said it's a waste of time. Personally, I'd say get it off me, then you know what you're getting. You want the long ones, okay? There's suppliers within Australia with names in their businesses, including the word Australia, and they may be or seem like Australian businesses, but they're not that experienced with the actual use and installation of the parts, and therefore they don't know when they're getting duped, and sometimes that's what they're selling you, okay? Some businesses, that's all they do, buy and sell parts. They take your money, sell it, and they could be Chinese copies. They're getting other components, they're rebossing them, they're changing part numbers, all sorts of things, okay? Just be aware where you buy stuff, guys. Just be really careful. It is a problem, and it doesn't seem to be getting any less with all the copies and other brands and the change-ups. Now, over here, just looking around, EGR valve, yeah, everything there looks all right. Wiring, a little bit of oil on the plug there, not too bad. It probably had a leaking MAP filter, which is just under here. Probably got replaced with injectors. Maybe you could do with a bit more of a clean up here. Maybe, but it's not too bad. It could be just some spray as well. This vehicle, I think the owner's been taking a lot of care cleaning, and a bit of spray here and a bit of spray there to stop the corrosion. All the clips and clamps are there, looks good. You should always check your power steering oil level, especially with these reservoirs where you can't see through them, because it's easy to assume it's a Toyota, we don't see any problems. But when the problem does start, it's usually just a very slow leak, not worth fixing, but you may need to start topping it up once they're over 10 or 15 years old. I might use a couple of mil each service or something like that, 2, 3, 4, 5, or even 10 mil. In my opinion, not worth spending the money to do repairs if that's a situation. Again, make sure your battery and all your terminals and wiring secure. This looks fairly good. This filter, change it every 40. We've got some diff breathers here, each to their own on those. I don't run diff breathers on my vehicle. I did extend the transmission breather up to the back of the EJR valve here, just using a bit of hose, but I struggle to get any water into my diffs. I do a lot of river crossings. I've never found water in my diffs, and almost no vehicles ever in the workshop have I seen water in the diff oil, and it doesn't cause a problem when there is. So you can run diff breathers if you like, it's up to you guys. Each to their own, as I said. So there's two there, and it looks like front and rear diff. So the one that matters most, the transmission, hasn't actually been done. But like I said, they're up behind their head, they're pretty high anyway. You know, there's a system there that works pretty well. I really don't think you need it, but sometimes peace of mind. As I said, I extended mine up to here because I was going up the Cape with some cowboys and I didn't know what they were going to put us through. So I sort of took that precaution because the transmission is an important one. Anyway, that's a bada bing, bada boom. A whole heap of information there, a few things we've checked out. We haven't seen a lot because this vehicle gets looked after. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, turn the bell on, give us a thumbs up, and I'll be looking in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.